you franchise your business or should you wait and open new locations? It's definitely important to distinguish between what type of business you are, right? Are you brick and mortar retail or your mobile service business? Two, what category are you in? Are you in a traditional, well-established industry? Are you in an industry where there's a growing interest? When we're looking at a business, are they ready to franchise? What do your unit economics look like? What are your gross sales? Are your sales trending up? What is your expense structure, supply chain look like? And for you as a business owner, what is your margin? What's your profit? Improve your sales, increase your margins, and potentially open up another location where you replicate your success. It's a big question. Should you franchise your business or should you wait and open new locations? We're going to go through Reddit comments and discuss a question that comes up often. It's a real world question. And it's so interesting when I was going through Reddit, looking at top 5 questions, top 10 questions when you're franchising your business. And one of the questions that stuck out was about franchising itself. Should I franchise my business? Am I ready? Or should I just first open up more corporate locations? And it's such a critical and foundational question, and something you should be thinking about if you haven't franchised your business yet, or you're thinking about taking that journey. So when we're talking about franchising, are you ready? Should you franchise? Foundationally, we're looking at unit economics, industry, founder mindset, founder goals. And I'll share with you this Reddit question. The question was, should I franchise my business or wait and self-own other locations? And the person goes on to state, as the title states, I'm looking to potentially franchise my business, but I'm stuck if it's the right call. For context, I own a business in the entertainment, recreational activity space. Last year was our full calendar year. We just barely made over $500,000 revenue, have about a roughly 20% profit margin. Our expenses are basically fixed, rent and employees. And where I'm torn is if I would self-own other locations. However, I'd like to be in another city. And is there a benefit opening up a second location in my own territory? My main problem comes from funding, as we're brick and mortar, currently paying off business debt I have for this location. Super broad post, but can get more specific in replies. P.S. This is my first business. I have no idea about setting up a successful franchise. And there were some comments, including by a franchise development company, that gave some basics about franchising the business itself. But let's dive into this a little. Number one, industry. What we learned from the post, they're in an entertainment activity industry. Most important, they're in a brick and mortar retail type facility. So their business is operated from a retail location, which implies a lease agreement, which implies build out costs to get up and running. They shared with us some unit economic data. Of course, we need a deeper dive, but again, we're going through this to give you insights on how you could evaluate this. On the unit economic front, they're stating a couple of things. Number one, they just completed their first full calendar year and that they achieved about $500,000 in revenue, 20% in margin. So 20% margin, that's about $100,000. And they shared at least some of their expenses that they focus on, rent and payroll. And then they discuss goals. I'd like to open up another location in another city. I'd like to think about opening up a location even in my city. And they shared with us that they're also concerned about capital and capital funding. So let's go through this on an analysis as if this were your business, but give you variables so you could apply to your particular situation. Industry itself, they said entertainment and activity. I would say we need more information, right? Are you in a legacy business? Are you in an industry that's well established? Is there competition in your industry that's already selling franchises? Or are you in a novel space where there's white space, industry-wide growth opportunities ahead? So from an industry perspective, it's definitely important to distinguish between what type of business you are, right? Are you brick and mortar retail or your mobile service business? Two, what category are you in? Are you in a traditional, well-established industry? What do the growth prospects look like? Are you in an industry where there's a growing interest and white space? That's all going to factor into your franchising question. And the ultimate question for this person, should I franchise now or should I open up another location, which I'm going to get to. But let's go through these factors. Second factor, they went over their unit economics and they shared with us that they've just completed their first full calendar year. So generally, what I would say is just that factor alone. Typically, you do want to see multiple years of operation so you can validate that you're replicating your success from year over year, or you're trending upwards in year over year sales increases. So when they say they completed their first calendar year, that's a caution statement where we've had plenty of clients franchise after a complete year, but is it better or there's more durability if you have multiple years to evaluate? Absolutely. So that'll factor into the analysis. Next, unit economics. So when we're dealing with unit economics, they're sharing with us in this Reddit post two important factors, but probably not enough. Number one, gross sales. So they've achieved 500,000 in gross sales. Two, they're saying margin, 20%, which would be about $100,000. It's not clear from the Reddit post, but I'm going to assume we're talking about bottom line margin, meaning they have their gross sales of 500,000. After you subtract rent, after you subtract labor, and after you subtract other expenses, they're stating that the margin is about $100,000 profit. Well, what other economic factors would we need to fill in the blanks and to evaluate this analysis and things you should be thinking about? Well, number one, what is rent, right? And I'm assuming rent's built into that margin, and still it seems like a somewhat healthy margin. Are they in a high profile location where rent is extremely high and that high profile location is driving sales? Or are they in an expensive location that's not really impacting sales and a franchisee could operate a less expensive operation? Also, when they're discussing margin, what would be important for a franchise analysis is the person that's asking the question, is their salary and compensation included in that margin? So when they're deducting all their expenses from their $500,000 in revenue, is that founder receiving a salary that's being deducted and resulting in the 20% margin? And if so, that's helpful, because if the founder is also paying himself or herself 100,000, well, then technically your margin's much larger, right? Especially if a franchisee is going to be managing and operating the franchise location themselves. But as you dive into this economic question, what becomes really important is an initial analysis. When we're looking at a business, are they ready to franchise? Well, what do your unit economics look like? What are your gross sales? Are your sales trending up relative to your competition in the industry? Are you outperforming the industry? What does your expense structure, supply chain look like? And for you as a business owner, what is your margin? What's your profit? So in this case, let's assume it's a 20% margin, $100,000 profit. Well, consider your franchisees are going to have higher expenses right out of the gate. Let's assume the franchisee's paying you a 6% royalty rate. So 6% of their gross sales is a royalty they'll be paying to you as a franchisor. So now your results of a 20% margin, right, all of a sudden gets reduced by the 6% for your franchisees. And what does the profitability look like after that? Also, when we're looking at the franchisee profitability, we're also engaging in an ROI analysis. How much money did the franchisee spend to open up the location? What's the ROI potential on that initial investment? How does that margin look? So early indicators as I'm evaluating this person's question, I'm not sure. Number one, I'm a little concerned that we've only completed one full year of franchising. My advice to their question, should I franchise my business or wait? My initial advice would be absolutely wait, improve your sales, increase your margins, and potentially open up another location where you replicate your success, although that's not required, which gets to their questions. They want to grow and they're considering opening up another location themselves, but also having a franchisee open up in another city. As a franchisor, and as you're evaluating should you franchise your business, one of your primary obligations is to make your franchisees profitable. When a franchisee invests in your franchise system, invests in your business model, what are the economic factors they're going to be considering? One, how much money does it cost me to become a franchisee? So I have to see how much am I investing? What's my income potential? Meaning, so they're not going to know, right? They're going to be opening up a new location. They're going to look at yours for some type of validation. Well, what are you earning? How long have you been operating there? What is your profitability? What does my profitability as a franchisee look like, considering I'm going to have higher costs? I may have lower sales because I'm starting a whole new market. I'm going to have higher costs because in addition to your expenses, I'm going to be paying you a royalty and potentially other franchise related fees. So that all comes into the analysis as we're working and speaking with business owners about whether or not they should franchise, or in many times, our advice is don't franchise yet. Let's have a conversation 9, 12 months from now. And in the meantime, focus on these things. The person also shared that their capital is limited. So if I'm, as an entrepreneur, myself, ourself, our firm, when I hear about limited capital, as business owners, entrepreneurs, humans, right? Our time is valuable, and our capital, and where we're putting our energy and effort. If you're limited on capital, my advice would be, why spend that money on franchising your business? Why not take that excess capital to make your current business better if there's the opportunity there? Why not reinvest in your own business, maybe a version 2.0 of your website? And when I say reinvest in your business, do it in a way when 12 months from now, if you're ready to franchise, you've built better assets. So for example, limited capital, focus on your business operations and improve those operations. Maybe create a better learning management system or training system for your employees, which you can then deploy later on for franchisees. For your business name, your trademarks, if they're not legally protected, they're not registered with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, call a firm like ours. Spend limited dollars on registering those trademarks. Registration takes like 9 to 12 months. So do that now, protect your business. And if you franchise in the future, that's an important asset you're going to have. And if you never franchise, well, you've done something you need to do anyway, which is protect your business name. So in this case, right, we evaluate industry, unit economics, goals, available capital based on this person's question. Should I franchise my business or wait and open up another location? My advice, superficially, although I need more information, is I would wait. And things I would focus on: number one, I would focus my capital, make my business better. I would focus on making sure I have the right training systems, increasing sales, increasing profit margin, protecting my trademarks. And then I would revisit franchising and evaluate it 8 months from now. Factors where you may want to accelerate that process, or at least have a more heightened conversation, is if you come back to me and say, Charles, I get all that, but we're in a novel industry. In this case, the margin also includes my salary. They'll make good money. Their startup costs are lower, and this is an industry, it's taken off, and I have a perfect franchisee candidate, friend, family, customer. It's ready to open up, and we want to take a strategic approach to this. That would merit more questions, but generally I would tell you, in this case, based on this Reddit question, I would wait. And my hope is not so much the advice per se, but the analysis. No matter where you are in your journey, when you're evaluating franchising and growth, it's a powerful tool. But evaluate the levers as you consider it, and be careful. Like, there were comments in this Reddit post by a franchise consultant with a pre-canned response, and it's taught, all these consultants, and they sometimes promise all these things, but understand franchising is scalable. Not everyone's going to do everything for you. If you look at a lot of our clients, they're bootstrapping growth. They're focused strategically, right? Launching their franchise the right way, spending their capital the right way, and then continuous evolution, website, brand story, just maybe selling to 1, 2, 3 franchisees and then building ultra support around them. So there's strategic ways to grow. Based on this question, I definitely would tell that Reddit user, let's have a conversation 12 months from now.